Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Continuing our focus on the freezing of the governor of Ekiti's accounts by the EFCC. Can they do that? Does the law permit it? These are the legal questions we're looking at this morning with Mr. Oloyede. Well, speaking about this case, I mean, you say we're not sure if that condition precedent has been complied with by the EFCC because they haven't published it, we haven't seen it. But assuming that that happens, will the courts have been on the wrong to grant that order?
No. I mean, if for instance, EFCC complied, you see, the courts they are established to ensure social engineering. That's why you even have the appellate system. A lower court can make mistakes. Anybody can make, EFCC can make mistakes. You can make mistakes. I can as a lawyer. I mean, a misinterpretation of the law. Now, when that happens, my own personal opinion is, in the first instance, they can do the investigation. You see, the problem we have in the country today is that a lot of prosecution is going on in the media. There are things that are being done that are actually putting the courts in a fix. Because a lot of facts are in public domain, on social media, things that ordinarily should not be there. And those things allow suspects, people that are, I mean, it's a whole wide network of criminals in Nigeria who have stolen our money. But when you start publishing things that, I mean, you are not yet sure of on social media, a lot of people actually cover up their acts. Now, I will never agree that the time-tested principle of immunity, I mean, should be subjected to such messy discussions, because the law is very clear. The Supreme Court has said it. Look, once you are covered by immunity, you are covered. You cannot be prosecuted for the duration of your stay in office. Once you leave that office, 1 hour after, you can be picked up. You become like, they just become like you and I. Now, but when they now say, oh no, investigation, the Supreme Court has also said, oh, you can be investigated, everything that is in order. What I disagree with is the controversy that is unnecessary, the distraction. EFCC, by bringing up this noisy thing at this point in time, is a big distraction. Are you with me? Now, assuming, for the sake of argument, that, okay, what they have done is wrong, there's a remedy. And this is now addressed to those on the side of Governor Fayose. I mean, the EFCC has done something, you feel it is wrong. It is not an occasion for mudslinging. It is not an occasion for you to bring in people who are not involved in this mess. Can he sue since
he's got immunity?
No, why not? I mean, the important thing is, oh, why not?
If he can't be sued,
no.
Why can't he sue?
No, why not? Now, for instance, there is a constitutional issue here. Are you with me? There is a governor involved. The EFCC is a commission under the federal government of Nigeria. There is an attorney general. There is also an attorney of the state. Now, they have said you are covered by immunity. Assuming that there is a process, that something has been filed in court against you, your name is on it. That is, if EFCC got an order properly so called through an ex parte application, not just by letter. The Form B is part of the law. The Form B that the judge will use to frame his order is part of a law. And that law can only be invoked based on an ex parte application. If EFCC filed an ex parte application, presupposedly, EFCC is saying, I can choose you to court. At that point in time, Governor Fayose can also go and meet them in court. Before the judge who made the order.
You know what I don't understand here? There's something, okay, we spoke with the son, and a good thing that you watched him, and we're asking about the possibility of Governor Fayose saying, I'm going to waive my immunity. Yes. If he does that, what's the implication? Does that also mean that he just might get maybe arrested if there's any need for that?
Now, let me tell you.
Because we're trying to look at the risk of anyone saying, I want to waive my immunity for me to clear this mess.
There is private and public law. There is a privilege imposed by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. No individual can waive it. It is imposed by the Constitution. It is not on Governor Fayose as a person. It is a privilege that accrues to the office of every governor in Nigeria.
It is to the office.
It is to the office. Fortunately or unfortunately, he is the one occupying that office today. He cannot unilaterally say, I'm waiving the immunity that covers the office of the governor of Ekiti State, because he might not be there tomorrow. Are you with me? But I believe that he can approach the court if there is a process by which that order was obtained, and that process has his name as a defendant against whom an order was gotten without being put on notice. That is one. The second one is, you see, there's a lot of distrust in the land, especially as against the courts of the land. Most Nigerians, most public office holders, most politicians, they are wary. They don't want to go to court. Nobody wants to lose. They don't want the court to hear their cases. That's why they file all sorts of frivolous applications to delay justice. Either way. Sorry, let me just land. Now, on this point, for instance, in the First Republic, Abraham Adesoya and the state, you will go to court on any issue. Now, what is wrong? I mean, you said your account has been unlawfully frozen. There's no need to make noise on the pages of newspaper, on media. Get your lawyers, apply. You can even go as far as the Supreme Court quickly. That, look, I want to raise a constitutional issue for the Supreme Court to determine whether EFCC, all these issues we are now arguing, and whether the decision in Fawemi and IGP says this or that or that, then the Supreme Court quickly will determine all these issues for all of us. And then some of us will go out of business because we have nothing to discuss again.
The other side of it, there's the argument, as you say, that going back and forth. There are those who argue that this money got into the account before he got his immunity.
Yes.
So what does that imply?
The immunity we're talking about relates...
Covers that money, even though it got in there before he became...
money, yes. Now, the money got there. That's the point you are making, that, there's a proviso somewhere that it relates only to the period when he's in office. What that proviso talks about is, it relates to whether it can be sued, charged, or, whatever can be done against him for the period when he's in the office. The money is in his name, but right now, the money could have gotten in before he was covered by immunity, that an infraction was committed, he wasn't a governor then. Are you with me? But because at the moment he's a governor, the constitutional provision says you cannot do anything against him until he stops being a governor. So irrespective of it's a misinterpretation of the law to say, since that money came in before he became governor, then the immunity does not come. No, it covers.
Well, what about that principle of the period of limitation? Yes. Whether any period of limitation has expired for the purposes of any proceedings against a person to whom this section applies, no account shall be taken of his period of office. Is it possible that the EFCC acted now because they are concerned that
no. In fact, this particular proviso works in favor of EFCC, it works in favor of the Nigerian people. Because what he's saying is that, assuming, for instance, you are supposed to bring an action against somebody within 6 years of committing the crime, and he is going to be governor for 8 years. Ordinarily, it means that by the time he finishes 2 tenures, you cannot deal with him again.
For a civil case or a criminal case?
For any kind of case. Are you with me? No, I'm saying, assuming that is the law. For in civil matters, contract 6 years, land matters 12 years, limitation law. So what this proviso is saying is that, for the purpose of reckoning, counting the years, the time will not begin to run, right, until after he leaves office. So that if it's 6 years, if it's 1 year, it will start running from immediately after he leaves office, so that they can even start investigation by that time, and they can commence proceedings. But the law will not say, he has spent 8 years, it's over 8 years, you cannot try him. No, that's not possible.
So the time limitation for a civil case doesn't apply in that case?
No, because you can't take him to court. It's about proceedings. He did not differentiate between criminal and civil. He said no proceedings shall be commenced or continued against him.
What about the question of destroying the rest, which is why they say they moved against this?
Yes, so that the money does not get dissipated Yeah. Well, if you say the money will be spent and all that, you see, the EFCC wields enormous power. That act is so powerful. Once you enter EFCC office in Nigeria today, I mean, you can plead everything. I have 10 cases pending on this subject matter. EFCC can tell you, you have to sign a check for the full amount, otherwise we will detain you. Are you with me? I'm not saying whether that is legal or illegal. That is not my job here today. You understand? But that's how, as far as it goes. EFCC can also track money. EFCC can trace money. Even if, for instance, you are focusing on an account belonging to somebody that is under investigation, governor or otherwise. Now, I am of the opinion that for as long as that money there's a trail. If the man moves the money, he pays it out, pushes it out, it is not the kind of money that people can come and collect in cash. By the banking rules we have now, nobody can just come to a bank and collect 10, 20 million cash and walk away with it into thin air. And whoever does that, you know your bank, know your customers, KYC and all those things. They have identities. It just makes the suspects more. As soon as the person collects, okay, you collected money from Governor Fayoje's account yesterday. Where is the money? Bam, you collect it. It becomes a better exhibit because you can then take it. And if the person says, oh, I bought so with this, I bought a house, you can't track it. That is tracing inequity, and you can attach that property. Anything with which money from that account is bought, you can pick it. And there are more and more exhibits proving the fact that these are proceeds of crime. Because at the appropriate time, you can then call on Governor Fayoje and say, this person you give 10 million, 20 million, what did they do for you? Why did you give them? Are they fronting for you?
But then, does this lead us to the question of our leaders and how the people must have that impression or should be able to hold them accountable for all kinds of actions? So this question of whether or not we should look at that law again, should immunity stay, should it go, this kind of argument makes it relevant.
Now, I want to be sincere. This is my own personal opinion, and I don't care whose ox is God. The greatest opportunity Nigeria has ever had to strengthen institutions and to make our laws work has been presented by the voting into power of President Buhari. What I see all around us is a great deal of impunity rather than the strengthening of institutions. You do not, I mean, the laws, I don't agree that people holding public offices should be covered by immunity. Rather than seize the initiative and remove this oddity from our laws, you are allowing the houses, the federal houses, to start preparing to even give immunity to more office holders. That is because the executive is not being proactive. They are just being reactive. It is time to remove this thing from the Constitution. Same also, there are a lot of things in the EFCC Act that ought to be removed. Because by virtue of Section 315 of the Constitution, they are void ab initio. But nobody is looking at them now. President Buhari would do well and get the Attorney General to get up and begin to make the courts work, make the laws work. You don't personalize anything. Just go at it.
All right, so very interesting perspective. Mr. John Oloide is a legal practitioner. Thank you for coming on this morning. Well, yes, as you see, the breaking news just in, British Prime Minister David Cameron standing down, especially after that historic vote. And this makes this kind of conversation for us holding our leaders accountable all the more relevant. But we'll bring you more as those stories also come in. Join us again in a moment.